Alright guys, it is finally time to figure out the worst card in NHL 22's Hockey Ultimate Team. We've whittled it down to 32 cards that have either been overhyped, they're overvalued, their attributes didn't match up to what it actually showed on the card, or their overall feel was just complete garbage. Now again, all of these I got from my community, so you guys did vote and give me some of the recommendations for the cards to be included in this bracket, and we're going to whittle it all down to the worst card in NHL 22 in hopes that EA just never releases a card ever like it again. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now, if you didn't watch the very first video, me going over this idea and the creating of the bracket, the 5 that I'd listed in that video are going to be our first 5. Team of the Year Fox, the Under 22 Bedard, the Team Builder Kessler, X Factor Mark Stone, and the Superstar Origins Yager. So we're going to pick up from right there. And where we're going to start with is from my Discord. A user by the name of Hazard Page gave me the idea for X Factor Leon DRAISAITL. Now, this one was out of the gate, if you remember back to the beginning of the game, one of the cards that looked like it was an easy upgrade. It was free, available in the pre-order pack, and he just never received regular upgrades at all. In fact, you know, even when we got to his master set in December, we just never got his upgrades. He was slow the entire time. He was expensive because he started out as a high rating. Overall, until he got to 99 overall, and if you actually went all the way to 99 with his X Factor, you more than likely just traded him in for his team of the season. This card was flat the whole year. I abandoned it pretty early on, and this was a pretty excellent choice for the worst card in 22. Next up is Leaders Randy CARLYLE. Now, this has more to do with the fact that, A, it's just not a really sought-after card that you really want to go after, and then secondly, when it comes to the master set spots available for every event, this one obviously just wasn't one you wanted to go and grab. He didn't play as well as, you know, the Silver Truculence looked like it might bail him out. It didn't, and he was one of the least sought-after cards from a pretty underwhelming event, as you're going to see here with the Gatorade Leaders event. Next is Evo PIONK. Man, I remember back when this event first happened and launched, even Winnipeg Jets fans weren't super stoked for NEAL PIONK, so anyone outside of being a Jets fan weren't excited for NEAL PIONK. That being said, he scored, I think, 1 or 2 goals, like, immediately when this card came out, and a lot of people invested in him early on, and he stayed at 91 the whole year. So, I'm glad that I made sure that people that listened to me made sure to avoid him, but he is definitely one of the worst cards that came out in terms of value for sure that you had to invest in him. All right, joining the Team Builder Kessler at the start of the game, it cost a ton to get these 90 Team Builder cards, and Mike PECA, I loved personally as a Sabre fan early on when the game came out. He was off my team like almost immediately. You know, I thought defensively it might make up for it. He had Shutdown and Thief, making him a really high faceoff rating, but it just never stuck. He couldn't hold on to the puck. It was a lot like Kessler. There was just something wrong with his 90 Team Builder. Next is X Factor MATHEW KACHUK. He receives pretty regular upgrades, but combining the fact that his speed is just so awful from the start of the game, the way X Factors work this year, there was just no point in continually upgrading him. And then you combine that with the fact that It's Tricky is one of the most useless X Factor abilities until he hit his 99, and even then, when he hit 99, it still wasn't worth it to go all the way with him. Just a really underwhelming card. It could have been really well done, but I think that once they know now, like, what abilities are kind of sought after, and hopefully they give us the ability to interchange zone abilities, which was an idea that I recommended earlier on in this year. Hopefully we see that because, yeah, this MATHEW KACHUK card was just super underwhelming all year round. Next up, recommended by my man B-Wubs, the 87 Master Set Quinn Hughes. Now, at the launch of this event, 87 overall seemed a little low. It wasn't at that stage of the game. It was basically launch. And combining the fact that he had Spinorama and Seeing Eye, just kind of useless for superstar abilities for defensemen, his body checking got up to 86, but it didn't feel like that at all. Obviously, as we know now, smaller defensemen in 22, it did not feel like 21. You couldn't bump anyone off the puck, and Quinn Hughes was just so expensive considering his like base card basically had the exact same speed. So just a really underwhelming, expensive master set item. All right, our first goaltender, you've got the 99, well now, Team of the Year ANDREI VASILEVSKIY, and the only usefulness that he had, because it wasn't in game, at least from my experience, and even when people had this card and I was playing them, I wasn't concerned at all, was the fact that, you know, he gave you +3 to each synergy. When you consider the fact he cost about 800,000 coins to 1 million to grab, the Team of the Year VASILEVSKIY just didn't do it, and on top of the fact, he didn't get upgrades for like a majority of the year. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it was the IHF thing, whatever it was, he did not receive an upgrade for an extremely long time, and it left people that were owners of this card just kind of sat there with a goaltender that just performed really, really poorly in-game, and then just, you know, super expensive to make. So Vasilevsky makes the list for worst card in 22. Next up, we've got a couple of the under 22 event cards, and there was a few of them on this list. 6'3" Dylan Cozens. This card looks perfect for Hockey Ultimate Team. Like what you want in terms of like the top end gameplay, the kind of meta card that you want. He just did not fit it. He was extremely sluggish. You couldn't get a breakaway speed at all, and his face-off rating, I mean, you could get it up a little bit with Thief, but just didn't have a big enough impact for what it looked like this card could, and it was just easily replaced. This one, I personally got to use the 92 Svechnikov. Again, same kind of scenario. It looked like he was going to fit that perfect build and what you want in a Hockey Ultimate Team card. Way too slow. Something about it, and his shot did not match what his attributes indicated, and then he did have elite edges and unstoppable force, but it just did not feel like that. I remember even trying to activate everything on him, and it just didn't. So the 92 Svechnikov makes the list. This next one was brutal, because personally, I remember when this Dylan Larkin card came out, it looked like a slam dunk. When it came out, 97 speed, 97 acceleration was basically endgame. It was one of the first cards that got it, and he had all of the best abilities that you could want. Did not feel like he had 97 speed, even with the wheels activated. At center, he did not feel like he was 6'1", and then at wing, you were basically wasting all of the good abilities that he had that really impacted a centerman. I don't know what it was. He was off my team extremely fast, and I was wrong on this card, and a lot of people seem to share my my sentiment. Just a big letdown with this Dylan Larkin card. Next up, we've got the Alumni Wayne Gretzky. This is going to be one of the only alumni cards on there because for the most part, alumni were just completely avoidable for the duration of the game. I had this card basically from launch of NHL 22. Was good, but never great. Never worth the investment. He did not feel... He played smaller than 6 foot. His abilities were all extremely mediocre, especially Third Eye, which was his zone ability. Did not have an impact at all. And yeah, just felt flat for the cost because you could sell him for basically like 1 million to 1.5 million for the duration of like the first half of the game. Just a really big letdown. And it's been like that for a few years now. Wayne Gretzky cards have just not hit well. Our next, a really popular one recommended was the X Factor Matthews. Now, again, we have to preface this. When the launch of the game happened and Superstar Origins came about, he got a 91 essentially very, very quickly. And I think that propped up some of the usefulness on him because he didn't have an upgrade for quite some time. And then every single subsequent upgrade cost so much because he started so high and his speed just didn't increase at all. You combine that with the fact that Shock and Awe is one of the lesser useful abilities, and all of the other Matthews cards that got the upgrades, like Team of the Week, Primetimes, all of that, had better abilities than this X Factor did. It wasn't until basically he got to 99, and even at that point, Team of the Season was a much better version of this card. It just was a big letdown the entire way through. I remember early on in the year, I remember saying, get out, bail out on Matthews, because it was going to be a while for his upgrade, and his speed just lags behind everyone the entire year. This is a perfectly built card. Like, at 6'3", good centerman. He just felt slow, and I know a lot of people used him on wing. You could kind of mitigate that because he was so slow and you used him if you were one of the higher end players because you just held onto the puck for so long with him. Just a brutal value in my opinion, and again, for a lot of the communities. Our first style icon card, the 94 Matthew Barzal. Now, this is a pretty important event because all of these cards you could have gotten for free from the style icon list. And I remember the Matthew Barzal card looking almost perfect. Again, this was earlier when 96 speed really mattered. It was super impactful to have a card that had that. And he was pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. It just died very fast. There was something flat about this card. He didn't feel as snappy as his stats indicated. And again, this was one of the more highly recommended worst cards from my community. So 94 Matthew Barzal, the Style Icons Master Set. One of the bigger events, we got Nasher releasing his Social Showdown cards, and Rick Nash looked like it was a perfect card. We waited a while to get a really high-end Rick Nash card. Just felt extremely slow. Obviously, we knew that 93 speed at the time the game came, or at this event came out, was going to be a little tough, but even with the 3 skating synergies, it did not have it to make up for. His size is incredible, abilities were good, but just a very, very flat card, and again, one of the higher recommended ones from the community. Our second DRAISAITL to hit the list. I mean, I feel like we're picking on him, but again, this the Hockey Roots DRAISAITL, again, looked like it might be a decent option, but just way too slow. The investment to get him was just exceptional, and his abilities just didn't make up for it. I mean, Ankle Breaker is one of the worst ones you can get. It's one of the most useful in the game. And Gold 1T didn't really fit his playstyle. I guess again, one of the higher recommended ones. DRAISAITL cards just got no love in terms of skating at all in this game. Next, we've got NHL Moments Patrick Kane. I personally got to use this card. I thought that maybe his speed as well as his abilities might make him pretty fun. Didn't happen at all. He was knocked off the puck anytime he touched it. He had max shooting. You know, he was decent at scoring for me, but Schneip just does not seem to do anything in 22. And yeah, this one, a few people had messaged me about this Patrick Kane card, and I have to agree. Didn't feel any breakaway speed with him, and just costs a lot. Next, we've got the trade deadline Taylor Hall. I remember when this came out, when it got announced or leaked, I guess, this looked like an end game card. I've gotten to use him quite a bit, and just super not exciting at all. I don't know what it is. Wasn't able to get him going at all, and I thought that, you know, everything's 99 Taylor Hall cards are usually extremely good. This basically looks like Connor McDavid. Didn't happen. Did not feel like that at all. This one makes me sad because, well, it's one of my favorite players. The TOMAS HERTL Moments event card. Again, I waited a long time to get a TOMAS HERTL, a master set player. Same situation as Kane. It looked like his attributes and his stats might make him extremely useful. 6'3", 94 speed and acceleration at the time, which was fine. He had unstoppable force, born leader, elite edges. No matter where I put him in my lineup, either it's center or on the wing, just flat. Couldn't get any separation in terms of skating, and couldn't take advantage of that 6'3" frame. And his shot, I just never scored with him. A lot of people had messaged me about this card. It's sad for me to put him on, but he is definitely one of the worst. We got 94 liters, Trevor Linden. This looked like the quintessential centerman for you if you wanted a power play fourth liner that you could have for the rest of the game. That did not play out. He was so slow, and obviously 91 speed, but even at the time it wasn't that bad. It did not hit. I thought that with quick draw, you know, big tipper, total eclipse might be fun because that's like the perfect, like, you know, you sit him in front of the net and just take shots. Those abilities just never seem to get activated. It's very hard to get that situation teed up. He was extremely expensive. Not it. Trevor Linden, one of the worst. The last X factor here is the 99 Nathan MacKinnon, and there's like two reasons for this. He received pretty regular upgrades, which was fine and kept him useful. However, all of his abilities outside of wheels just did not do anything. It was an extreme waste. And like I said, Ankle Breaker is historically one, or I mean, obviously the one that the community, there's no value to it. It just did not activate. It was one that we, even as game in the Game Changer program, remember all the ability changes we wanted brought down to 2. It just didn't happen. And yeah, unfortunately, I hope they take it out of the game, to be honest, or figure out what to do with it. But yeah, this Nathan MacKinnon card, it was always better to get whatever the Nathan MacKinnon card was, much like Austin Matthews, but his speed was so fast, it just kind of allowed everything to just keep upgrading. You're fine, but you were way better off getting the 99 and trading the team of the season. So Nathan MacKinnon, just not it. All right, another pure community recommended one, the 98 playoff predictor Lars Eller. This one was a slam dunk to get to 98. So a bunch of people invested him, including a lot of GWC players. Did not fit. He was one of the slowest players that they had used. 94 speed, 95 acceleration, but he looked like he had gold quick draw. He's a centerman, good, decent size. Was awful and immediately off their teams for a 98 overall card. So playoff predictor Lars Eller, definitely one of the one of the worst so far this year. Next up, we've got the 94 Alexander Barkov, the leaders card. Again, this is just a skater. He was way too sluggish for a master set player, and a lot of people thought that this would be a phenomenal card because of his size and everything else. He had silver quick draw, born leader wasn't bad, unstoppable force is half decent as well. Just could not get away from anyone, and unfortunately, just one of the least valuable in terms of the cost to get him when the leaders event came out. Couple goalies here. We've got the 93 Mikko Koskinen, 6'7", had gold light work, or sorry, had gold X-ray, but did not have light work or post to post, and that appeared to be the difference maker among goaltenders this year because yeah, a lot of people had recommended this. He looked like he was going to be the goaltender to use for months, and just wasn't it. Team of the year Marchand is one of our last ones. Again, recommended from the community. Obviously, he is always going to be one of the worst builds for HUT cards in terms of being able to like hold on to the puck well. His speed is always very low for his size. His shot's great, but that's it. And team of the year, it just cost about 600,000-700,000 coins to upgrade him. And it wasn't until he was 99 where he really had all the things juiced up for him. But his Schneip is just not a very good zone ability. Either his make it snappy, unstoppable force is useful on him, but other than that, just the cost does not add up. Next, we've got team of the season, Freddie Andersen. I got to use this card personally because I did pack it. awful. Like, gold light work is awesome, but no post to post. He was 6'4". Again, looked like he could be a sneaky good choice. This one was recommended by, I want to say, 20 to 30 people. Freddie Anderson's team of the season card, just not it. All right, down to our last two. We've got the Hockey Idols Carter Hart. This one was recommended by the community. Anyone, I guess, that has used him, I had about 3 or 4 people in my Twitch chat say that this was just not it. Obviously, 6'2", a little bit smaller in net, but for a master set goaltender that has goal post to post and 99 everything, he lets in quite a bit. So, Hockey Idols, Carter Hart. And the last of our 32 to round it out, another Shark, the 94 Erik Karlsson. He always gets master sets, even though I'm not a huge fan of him, and either any of the Sharks fans that still play the game. Nonetheless, this one did just not hit. He was a free card if you chose him, but there was just not a lot of people that used him. There were so many better right-handed players, and then the ones that actually got to use him just knocked off the puck way too easily, even with unstoppable force, and didn't have any abilities to really make up for it. So he is our 32nd player. Now, obviously, guys, this is a pretty subjective one. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of players that have other cards that they would put in the top 32. I listened to my community. I took down the ones that came up the most, as well as I put in my own personal cards that, I thought were awful throughout. And here we are. So what you want to do is follow me on Instagram. The link is down below. My editor, my graphic designer, Tyler, he is going to put together the images so that we can vote on who is the worst card in NHL 22. We are going to do a full 32 card bracket. I'm going to create a bracket for you guys. And we're going to go round by round until we find the worst card in NHL 22. Fun little thing to do for the ending of the game. And we're also going to do the best, so don't worry about that. That one will be coming up once we finish this one. So be sure to follow me on Instagram and stay tuned for that, and then on stream I will mention it a lot. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.